now it's my pleasure to introduce Annie Palstam.
Thank you. I don't. You put on mute.
Annie is associate professor in rehabilitation medicine and PhD physiotherapist, and I asked her, because of her interest and because of the day, the subject of the day, to talk about a sustainable future, because I think that by the end of the day we need to look, where are we heading, where are we going, and the future is where we're going. So therefore Anne was given this task.
Thank you.
And we are filming it to put on social media.
Excuse me. Thank you so much for inviting me here today to speak about a sustainable future or sustainable development, which is a subject that I am very passionate about. I'm a physiotherapist and also associate professor here at the Department of Clinical Neuroscience. The least we can do is as much as we can. The Swedish meteorologist Per Holmgren, this is his call to act to combat or tackle climate change. And these words, ever since I heard them the first time, have stuck with me. And I've been thinking a lot about what this means to me. What is the limit for how much I can do, and in which context am I where I can do a difference, where I can make a difference. So a couple of years ago I started thinking more specifically about physiotherapy in relation to sustainable development and environmental issues. And together with colleagues who were also passionate about environmental issues, we started an initiative to put focus on environmental issues of sustainable development within the physiotherapy, Swedish Physiotherapy Association. Sorry that the text is in Swedish, we haven't published internationally yet. This work has led to that we are just now about to environmentally certify one section within the Swedish Physiotherapy Association as a pilot, and we're aiming for a certification for the whole association as soon as possible. And just about a year ago we also started the Physiotherapists for Future to support the Fridays for Future movement started by Greta Thunberg. Some of us, we demonstrate each Friday. Some of us demonstrate at the local demonstrations when possible. Others in their lunchrooms or corridors at the clinic or outside of hospitals at lunch hours. And our movement, as the Fridays for Future movement, is growing continuously. Since a year back, I have the pleasure to teach in the first term of the physiotherapy program here at the University of Gothenburg about sustainable development. And when I give this lecture, I use the, now I have to read to see what the audience response buttons to interact with the students and questions along the way in the lecture. And one question I ask them is if they think it is important for the university to work with, let's see, and now I have to read it in English, sorry. If it is important that the university works actively with reducing its climate impact and to set sharp goals to 2030. And I just had this lecture a couple of weeks ago, and I had to take a picture of their response because 71% think it's very important that the university works with this actively, and 24% think it's important. So the students really want us at the university to take on this issue and to work with this. And also, as some of you may know, this spring, the Sahlgrenska Academy will take a big step towards implementing sustainable development in all programs that are provided by the faculty. So this will, I'm really interested and excited to see what that will lead to. Okay, so we're talking about sustainable development, and so what is that really? Our Common Future is a report also known as the Brundtland Report from 1987, published by the UN. And there, the definition of sustainable development, which is the most widely used today, was defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Okay, so the past decade was a time of global and national agreements. In 2015, the Plan of Action for People, Planet and Prosperity was agreed upon in the UN, and is also known as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And I hope you're all very familiar with this goal. Number 4 for sure, since Mia's presentation. These are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which have 169 targets, and they are all integrated and indivisible, so we cannot leave one goal behind. We have to work with them all together. And they balance the 3 dimensions of sustainable development: the economic, the environmental, and the social dimensions. And you can see it like this. We have the planet, we have the environmental dimension, we have the people, the social dimension, and the profit and prosperity, the economic dimension. The plan for people, planet, and prosperity. And it has also been suggested that these 3 dimensions are like 3 legs on a stool, where if you forget one dimension, the stool will tip. Not good. And when we work with this, we need to think global and act local. There is also another version of this, the dimensions presented by the Stockholm Resilience Center with Professor Johan Rockström, among others, suggesting that it is not just 3 dimensions or 3 legs on a stool. We actually have a biosphere. We have a planet, the planetary health that we need to consider first in order for the societal and economic dimensions to rely on. So human health obviously is dependent on on the natural systems of our planet. And how does this look? Okay, so this is also published in 2015. It's a planetary boundaries for human development, also by Johan Rockström and others. The 9 planetary boundaries constitute 9 areas which are crucial for the health of the planet in order to support human development. And we need to keep in the green zones. So we can see that we already, and this is in 2015, have overstepped some of these limits that are safe for human development on the world, and that we have the biologisk mångfald. We have the biodiversity, and we have also the phosphorus and nitrogen, which are over fertilization, that we are already very much overstepping. So another agreement that was met in 2015 was the Paris Agreement, where the UN member states agreed upon to limit the global temperature increase well below 2 degrees Celsius, while urging efforts to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees. 2015 was also the year where the Lancet coined the term planetary health as the health of human civilization and the natural systems on which it depends. And the Lancet Commission on Health and Climate Change also produced a report on the issue and made a very nice and short film on climate change and health. And it is 3 minutes, and I would like you to, I hope you can enjoy this and that it will come up. Yes.
The risks of climate change are unacceptably high. In fact, they're potentially catastrophic for human health. Climate change directly impacts human health, resulting in loss of life from extreme weather like droughts, floods, and heat waves. But it will also damage the ecosystems we rely on for good health, resulting in more polluted air, decreased crop yields, and undernutrition, and threatening our supply of clean drinking water. Climate change will bring social change. As sea levels rise, mass human migration will lead to overcrowding, pressure on scarce resources, and possibly violent conflict. Heat waves can be fatal for people aged 65 and over. This exposure will increase over the next century. But demographic data shows populations are migrating and ageing into areas worst affected by climate change, and the true exposure increase for the over 65s is likely to be even greater. The current global energy mix, which emphasises fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas, has a profound impact on human health. As well as exacerbating climate change, fossil fuels are already causing heart and lung disease directly through poor air quality. The long-term effect from fossil fuels on global climate change will have even greater and more far-reaching effects on human health. But the news isn't all bad. This diagram lays out many of the key responses to climate change, all of which have significant co-benefits for human health. Low carbon vehicles and active transport like walking and cycling decrease air pollution and carbon emissions, and also decrease obesity and cardiovascular disease. In fact, through these co-benefits, and by preventing the potential loss to economic development, responding to climate change could be the biggest global health opportunity of this century. Most people view climate change as a threat, but there's significant variation. Over 70% of the population in Brazil, South Korea and Greece understand that climate change is a major threat compared to 40% or less in the USA and China. Trends of parts per million CO2 emissions are difficult to appreciate, but increasing asthma rates or exacerbating childhood undernutrition are tangible health problems that people relate to. Whether we respond to climate change, turning the threat it poses into an opportunity to improve public health, is no longer a question of scientific evidence or technological capability. It is now entirely a matter of political commitment. The health profession has a vital role to play in driving this transition, communicating the risks and ensuring climate change policies promote public health. We need to be at the forefront of this issue, helping to create a healthier future.
I think that is a really, really good film. I showed that to the students at the Sustainable Development lecture. Okay, so the central finding from that commission's work is that tackling climate change could be the greatest global health opportunity of the 21st century, and that health professions should be at the forefront of this issue. I think that is very exciting and inspiring message. So what about the environmental impact of healthcare? This report, Healthcare's Climate Footprint, states that the health sector makes a major contribution to the climate crisis and therefore has an important role to play to resolve it. Healthcare's climate footprint is equivalent to 4.4% of global net emissions, and if the healthcare sector were a country, it would be the 5th largest emitter in the world. So we have great emissions, we have great potential to do really good changes. And so what about the university? There's a climate framework for universities and colleges. And it's a framework that the University of Gothenburg joined in 2019. 37 Swedish universities and colleges have created this framework with the ambition to be in line with the Paris Agreement's 1.5 degrees target. And how can we work with this? We at the university, we need to work on increase our positive impact through our research, teaching, and interaction with society, including its perspective of sustainable development. And we also need to reduce our negative impact of our operations, such as the energy and buildings, procurement and purchase, recycling and waste, and chemicals and environmental risks, and traveling. So at the end of the past decade, there was a rising awareness in this issue of sustainable development and climate change, and an exploding engagement with Greta Thunberg and the Fridays for Future movement at the forefront. And one of Greta's messages is that no one is too small to make a difference, and I think she is a very good example of that here at UN climate meeting together with the UN Secretary General. So the past decade was a time of agreements and rising awareness, and now it is time for action. Today progress is being made in many places, but it's not yet advancing at the speed or scale that is required, and we need to speed up. So I want to finish off with repeating Per Holmgren's, the meteorologist's call. The least we can do is as much as we can, and encourage all of you to think about what you can do as an individual and as a part of this institution. And think global and act local, and I think together we can make a difference. Thank you.